You may not believe this, but the next 4 words coming out of your mouth could unlock your financial breakthrough. These 4 words have turned empty bank accounts into testimonies of abundance. And if you dare to say them with faith, you'll see what heaven can do. Before I tell you the 4 words, pause for a second and look at where you are. Your situation may look impossible. Bills piling up, doors closing, opportunities slipping away. But remember, your words are seeds. Every seed carries a future harvest. When spoken with faith, words shift atmospheres, move angels, and command blessings to locate you. Throughout history, every miracle began with a word. Let there be light. God spoke and light appeared. You were created in His image, which means your words carry creation power. If God framed the world by His words, words are not just sounds that come out of our mouths. They are containers of power, carriers of spiritual energy that shape realities. When we speak, something happens in the unseen realm. Every word released with faith travels like a seed, seeking the right soil to grow and manifest. The power of spoken faith is one of the greatest mysteries of spiritual life. Many people underestimate how deeply their words influence their financial situations, relationships, and even their emotions. The truth is simple yet profound. What you continually confess, you eventually possess. When you say words filled with belief, you are not just talking, you are partnering with divine authority. Faith is not silent. It cannot remain unspoken and still be alive. It must be expressed when you say, I will come out of debt, God will provide for me, or my breakthrough is on the way. You are activating divine laws that respond only to belief-filled declarations. Recapio Creative Daily YouTube recaps in your inbox. Stop listening for hours. Start reading in minutes. Every morning at 8:00 a.m., our AI-powered digest lands in your inbox with all key insights from your favorite YouTube channel. Start your daily recaps sponsored. There is a spiritual law that says, you shall have whatever you say. This means that if your words are aligned with fear, you attract what you fear. But if your words are filled with faith, gratitude, and confidence in divine provision, you begin to attract abundance. Words set the direction of your destiny. Like the rudder of a ship guiding it through a storm, the power of spoken faith works in both directions, positive or negative. Many people unknowingly curse their finances by saying things like, I'm always broke, money never stays with me, or I can't afford that. These statements might sound harmless, but they plant seeds of limitation in the mind and spirit. Your words are the blueprints your life follows. If you declare lack, your life will find a way to match it. If you declare abundance, divine power begins rearranging circumstances to bring increase. The reason speaking in faith feels difficult for many is because they are used to speaking from their feelings rather than their faith. Feelings describe the situation, but faith declares the transformation. When faith speaks, it doesn't deny reality. It speaks a higher truth over it. A person of faith doesn't ignore the bills, the debts, or the uncertainty, but they choose to say, God is my provider. Even when the evidence is missing, these words open the gate for divine assistance to enter. Faith-filled words are like keys. They unlock doors that human effort cannot. The moment you start speaking what you believe, your mind starts aligning. Your emotions begin shifting, and the spiritual realm responds to your confession. This is why faith must be audible. Thoughts are powerful, but spoken words multiply that power. Even creation itself began with spoken faith. The Creator looked into the void and said, "Let there be light." And light came. He didn't think light into existence. He spoke it. This is the model for our lives. We don't wait to see change before we speak. We speak to see change. Words are not just communication tools. They are instruments of creation. Every breakthrough, miracle, and transformation begins with a spoken word of faith. Financial miracles follow the same law. When a person declares consistently that divine provision is flowing to them, that opportunities are opening, that increase is coming, something begins to shift. Faith builds momentum through repetition. Each time you speak a declaration of faith, you reinforce a new reality in your spirit until it becomes visible in your life. You cannot speak defeat and expect victory, nor can you speak lack and expect prosperity. To experience financial transformation, your words must align with the promise of abundance. When you choose to speak faith instead of fear, you are choosing to plant seeds of hope, power, and expectancy. It may not happen overnight, but faith doesn't require visible proof to believe. It only requires a voice willing to declare, "My provision is coming." And as those words echo in faith, divine forces begin to move, shaping your circumstances to reflect the power of your confession. These 4 words are not magical phrases or spiritual shortcuts. They are keys of divine activation that unlock the supernatural flow of provision in your life. Many people seek miracles without understanding that miracles are the result of spiritual principles put into motion by faith. When you speak faith-filled words, you are not performing a ritual. You are activating a divine system that responds to belief. Heaven operates on the principle of faith, and faith is always expressed through words. The words you speak determine what is activated in your life. Fear activates defeat. Faith activates blessing. When you speak these 4 words, you are not trying to convince God to do something new. You are giving Him permission to release what has already been prepared for you. Divine activation begins when the spoken word meets unwavering faith. Every word of truth must be believed to release its power. When you say, "God is my provider," or any phrase that declares divine dependency, you are declaring alignment with heaven's order. These words shift your focus from the visible to the invisible, from your need to your source. Most people live as though they are the only ones responsible for their financial survival. They carry burdens that were never meant to be carried alone. But when you speak words of faith, you are transferring ownership of your struggle to the one who owns all resources. The moment you do this, you create a spiritual connection that allows divine provision to begin flowing toward you. Divine activation is not a matter of performance or eloquence. It is about authority. You were created with authority to speak things into being. When you speak these 4 words with belief, you are using the authority that was placed in you to command spiritual realities into physical manifestation. Heaven responds to faith, not fear, and faith is heard through your words. Angels move at the sound of your declarations. The divine system is voice activated. When you confess your faith, you give life to the words that call forth blessing. Every time you repeat these words, you are realigning yourself with heaven's frequency. In the natural world, it may seem like nothing changes immediately. Your bank account may still look the same, the bills may still be there, but in the spiritual realm, your declaration sets movements into motion. Doors begin to open, ideas begin to form, people begin to appear. The unseen starts shaping the scene because your faith has sent out a command. That is what divine activation truly means. Your faith spoken out loud becomes the switch that turns on divine flow. The power of activation also lies in persistence. One declaration may light the spark, but consistent confession keeps the flame burning. The more you say these 4 words with conviction, the deeper your belief grows, and the more receptive your heart becomes to divine provision. Words are like seeds. Some sprout quickly, others take time. But every seed of faith spoken will produce fruit when spoken from a believing heart. As you continue to activate faith through your words, your mindset begins to shift from scarcity to sufficiency. You begin to see opportunities where others see impossibility, because divine activation renews the eyes of your spirit. This process also changes your emotional state. Worry and fear lose their hold when faith is activated. Anxiety about money is replaced by peace, because your focus is no longer on what you lack, but on who provides for you. Divine activation transforms not only your finances, but your entire outlook on life. It brings confidence that you are supported by something greater than yourself. The flow of provision may come through unexpected channels: a promotion, a gift, a creative idea, a new opportunity. But it will always begin with the moment you spoke words of faith. Every word of faith you speak is a declaration of trust. It is you saying to heaven, "I believe in the invisible supply more than the visible limitation." That act of belief is what activates divine movement. God does not respond to desperation. He responds to faith. When your words carry faith, they echo in the spiritual realm and attract the provision already assigned to you. The divine system was designed to respond to spoken faith, and when you speak with conviction, heaven cannot remain silent. That is why these 4 words are so powerful. They are not empty syllables. They are a divine trigger that releases miracles. When spoken with unwavering trust, before abundance can ever appear in your life, it must first exist in your mind and spirit. Every form of prosperity begins as a thought, a belief, and an inner conviction that you are meant to live in divine provision. The mindset you hold about money determines how you experience it. Many people desire financial breakthroughs, but continue to live with a mindset of lack, constantly thinking they never have enough, that wealth is far away, or that blessings only happen to others. This way of thinking blocks divine flow. The truth is, you cannot receive what you secretly doubt you deserve. To experience abundance, the first shift must happen within you. Your mindset must move from scarcity to sufficiency, from fear to faith, from worry to expectancy. Your thoughts are magnetic. They attract situations, opportunities, and outcomes that align with your inner beliefs. If your inner voice constantly says, "I never have enough," then even when blessings come, they will quickly slip away because your mind is programmed for shortage. But when you begin to think and believe, "I live under divine provision," your life starts aligning with that truth. This is not about pretending problems don't exist. It is about seeing beyond them, choosing to focus on the unseen abundance that is always available. The spiritual law is simple. What you focus on grows. If your focus is always on what you lack, lack will expand. But if your focus is on divine supply, then supply begins to multiply. Changing your mindset requires intentional discipline. You must renew your thoughts daily and guard them against negativity. This transformation begins by aligning your mind with the promises of divine provision rather than the limitations of your circumstances. Instead of saying, "I can't afford this," begin to say, "The resources I need are on their way." Each time you replace fear with faith-filled words, you are rewiring your mind for abundance. The outer world is only a reflection of the inner world. When your internal atmosphere changes, the external conditions must eventually follow. A mindset of abundance does not mean greed or obsession with wealth. It means trusting that there is always more than enough for you and others. It's a posture of faith that says, "My source never runs dry." When you carry this awareness, you stop competing, comparing, or fearing loss. You live from a place of peace, knowing that divine provision is not limited by economy. job, or circumstance. People with an abundance mind set attract opportunities effortlessly because they radiate confidence and gratitude. Their belief creates a vibration of expectancy that draws blessings like a magnet. To establish this mindset, you must also confront limiting beliefs inherited from your past. Many were raised hearing statements like money is hard to earn, what can't afford that, or rich people are selfish. Those words create subconscious barriers that keep abundance away. Breaking free requires reprogramming your thoughts through faith declarations, gratitude, and visualization. Each time you affirm divine provision, you are dismantling those old beliefs and replacing them with truth. Gratitude plays a key role in this process. When you thank God for what you have, even if it seems small, you open the door for more. Gratitude multiplies blessings while complaint repels them. The mindset shift also demands that you see money as a tool, not a master. When you stop chasing it and start believing it will come to you through divine channels, it begins to flow naturally. Worrying about money shuts down creativity and blocks intuition, but peace and trust activate ideas, strategies, and open doors. Divine wisdom flows easily to a mind at rest. The moment you stop fearing lack and start expecting increase, your actions begin to align with faith. You make wiser choices, take inspired steps, and attract the right people at the right time. Ultimately, abundance begins where belief begins. Your words and actions will always follow the pattern of your mindset. If you believe you are already blessed, you will act like it, speak like it, and plan like it. Faith and abundance thinking create momentum that cannot be stopped by external circumstances. The shift may not happen overnight, but every day you choose faith over fear. Your inner environment grows richer, and soon your outer world mirrors that wealth. The miracle of provision starts when your mind accepts that you are already connected to infinite supply. Once this awareness takes root, financial miracles are no longer unpredictable. They become natural expressions of your renewed mindset. Every limitation that holds a person back financially begins in the mind long before it appears in their circumstances. Poverty is not only a lack of money, it is a way of thinking that limits divine flow. To experience financial freedom, the first step is to break the internal barriers that have been built by years of fear, worry, and negative confession. Words are spiritual forces that either build or destroy, bless or bind. Many people unknowingly imprison their own prosperity by the things they say about money, work, and opportunity. The moment you speak words of lack, you give them authority to rule your reality. The moment you speak words of faith, you release divine power to create new possibilities. Breaking financial limitation begins with breaking the pattern of destructive speech and thought. When you say, "I'll never get ahead, I'm always behind," or "nothing ever works for me," those words don't just disappear into the air. They enter your subconscious mind, shaping your beliefs and influencing your behavior. Over time, these confessions become self-fulfilling prophecies. You begin to act in alignment with them, expecting failure rather than favor. The spiritual realm operates on agreement. What you consistently agree with through your words becomes established in your life. If you agree with lack, lack will multiply. But if you agree with abundance, abundance will find its way to you. Words are the bridge between your faith and your manifestation. When you speak, you are either constructing that bridge or tearing it down. Breaking limitation requires you to use your words as tools of freedom. Every declaration of faith is a hammer that breaks the walls of scarcity thinking. When you start saying, "I live in divine supply," opportunities are chasing me, and my resources are expanding, you begin to change the spiritual atmosphere around you. These declarations don't ignore reality, they reshape it. Faith doesn't deny facts. It declares a higher truth above them. The words of faith plant new seeds that eventually produce a harvest of increase. At first, it may feel strange to speak words that don't match your circumstances. But that is exactly how faith works. You speak the promise, not the problem. You declare the desired outcome until it becomes visible. A major part of breaking financial limitation is changing your identity. If you see yourself as poor, unworthy, or forgotten, your actions will follow that belief. But when you begin to see yourself as blessed, favored, and divinely supported, your spirit rises above limitation. Words play a vital role in shaping that new identity. Every time you say, "I am provided for," you are not just describing your situation, you are defining your identity. Identity attracts experience. When you identify as someone connected to divine provision, you begin to attract provision naturally. The spiritual law of attraction responds to your inner image and your spoken agreement. You must also guard your environment. Limiting words from others can contaminate your faith if you allow them to take root. Surround yourself with voices that speak life, not fear. The people you listen to, the messages you absorb, and the thoughts you entertain all shape your financial reality. If you constantly feed your mind with negativity, your faith will weaken. But if you fill your heart with truth and positive confession, your spirit will grow stronger and divine flow will increase. Speak abundance even in scarcity, because the seed of faith must be planted before the harvest appears. Every time you speak faith-filled words, something shifts in the unseen world. You may not notice it instantly, but spiritual forces begin rearranging circumstances to bring alignment with your declaration. That is why you must remain consistent. Consistency turns temporary declarations into permanent transformation. The more you speak abundance, the more natural it becomes to think and act abundantly. Breaking financial limitation is not about working harder. It is about believing and speaking higher. Once you stop using your words to describe lack and start using them to declare provision, the chains of limitation begin to break. You no longer live under the weight of fear or the control of circumstances. You begin to live under grace, guided by faith and supported by divine wisdom. Every limitation that once seemed immovable becomes powerless before the authority of faith-filled speech. Poverty cannot survive in the atmosphere of constant confident declaration. When your words and faith unite, your reality must shift to match the power of your confession. The law of expectation is one of the most powerful spiritual principles that governs the flow of blessings and abundance. Whatever a person truly expects in their heart, they eventually experience in their life. Expectation is more than a hope or wish. It is a firm inner assurance that something good is on its way. It is the bridge between faith and manifestation. Many people pray for financial breakthroughs but secretly expect disappointment. And because their expectation contradicts their prayer, nothing changes. Expectation is the invisible magnet that attracts either blessing or lack. When you expect increase, you make room for it. When you expect loss, you unconsciously prepare for it. The law works whether you believe in it or not, because it is rooted in divine order. Faith and expectation cannot be separated. Faith believes that something is possible. Expectation waits confidently for it to appear. It is the active stance of someone who knows their source is faithful. Expectation gives faith a target. Without it, faith becomes passive and uncertain. When you truly expect divine provision, you begin to act, think, and speak as though it is already on the way. You stop worrying about how and start preparing for when. Expectation transforms the way you handle your finances, your plans, and your attitude toward the future. It turns anxiety into anticipation. This shift in energy is what opens the door for miracles. Expectation is the spiritual posture that tells heaven you are ready. When you expect abundance, you align your heart with divine timing. You start seeing signs of opportunity that you would have otherwise overlooked. Expectation sharpens your spiritual senses. It moves you from waiting passively to engaging actively with your faith. A person who expects a financial miracle begins to plan for it, speak about it, and position themselves for it. This proactive stance becomes a signal to the universe that you are serious about receiving. Divine power responds to readiness. On the other hand, when you expect failure or shortage, your mind becomes blind to opportunities. You begin to attract situations that reinforce your fears. Expectation is creative energy. It shapes experiences according to the pattern of your belief. If you expect the worst, you draw the worst. If you expect the best, you create an environment for the best to appear. That is why two people can face the same situation. One sees impossibility, the other sees potential, and their outcomes are completely different. The difference lies in expectation. To activate the law of expectation, your words must agree with what you believe. You cannot expect prosperity while constantly speaking about lack. Every word you speak either strengthens or weakens your expectation. When your mouth and your heart are in harmony, power is released. Saying, "I know provision is coming," while feeling grateful and confident, creates a vibration of faith that heaven responds to. But saying, "I hope something happens," from a place of doubt shuts the flow. Expectation must be fueled by conviction, not desperation. Desperation cries from fear. Expectation speaks from peace. Expectation also shapes your emotional climate. People who live with high expectation carry joy, peace, and confidence. They do not allow circumstances to dictate their mood because they know that what they see now is not the end of the story. They are always looking ahead, knowing something better is unfolding. This inner attitude becomes magnetic. It attracts favor ideas and divine connections. Joyful expectation draws solutions faster than fearful striving ever could. When you expect miracles, you start to recognize them even in small things. A sudden opportunity, unexpected help, or a new idea that changes everything. Sustaining expectation requires patience and consistency. There are moments when nothing seems to be happening. But true expectation does not fade with time. It grows stronger the longer it waits because it is rooted in trust, not invisible evidence. Every time you speak words of faith and hold on to your expectation, you are watering the seed of your miracle. You might not see the roots growing beneath the surface, but something is happening. The atmosphere around you is shifting in response to your belief. Living under the law of expectation means waking up each day with the quiet confidence that provision is already on the way. It means walking through challenges knowing they are temporary pathways to break through. It means thanking God in advance because your spirit knows He is faithful. Expectation keeps your hope alive, your words aligned, and your faith active. The moment your expectation matches your faith, manifestation becomes inevitable. Every great miracle begins in the soil of expectancy, and those who live in that atmosphere never run dry. Partnership with the divine is the realization that you are not walking through life or facing financial challenges alone. It is the awareness that the Creator who designed the entire universe desires to work with you and through you to fulfill your purpose and meet your needs. Divine partnership is not about asking for occasional help. It is about living in continuous cooperation with a higher power that knows the way even when you do not. When you speak words of faith such as, "God is my provider," you are extending an invitation for heaven to join hands with you in every financial decision, every opportunity, and every moment of uncertainty. Partnership transforms your relationship with money and work from striving and stress into flow and guidance. In this partnership, you take on the role of belief and obedience, while the divine takes on the role of provision and direction. You do not have to know how everything will come together. Your responsibility is to trust, to act when guided, and to stay aligned in faith. The more you try to carry everything alone, the more overwhelmed you become, because self-reliance cuts off divine assistance. But when you surrender your plans and declare that you are cooperating with divine wisdom, a supernatural alignment begins to take place. Doors open where there were none. People cross your path with the right answers and ideas form that you could not have produced on your own. Partnership with the divine also changes how you perceive work and money. You begin to see them not as burdens, but as instruments through which divine blessing flows. Your job, your business, or your talent becomes a channel, not the source. When you separate the channel from the source, you live in anxiety, fearing that if the channel fails, your provision ends. But when you know that your source is divine and unlimited, you walk in peace. You understand that if one channel closes, another will open because the partnership is intact. This understanding brings stability to your financial life because it roots your confidence in something unshakable. When you operate as a partner with God, every decision becomes purposeful. You do not move out of panic, but out of peace. You listen before you act, and you act when prompted. Many people miss divine provision because they act without consultation. Partnership requires communication. You talk, you listen, and you obey. The inner voice that guides you toward wisdom, honesty, and stewardship is often the voice of divine partnership, leading you toward abundance. Sometimes it will tell you to give when it makes no sense, and that giving becomes the seed of a future miracle. Other times it will prompt you to rest, to wait, or to prepare. And obedience in those moments keeps the flow of blessing unhindered. Another vital aspect of this partnership is trust during silence. There will be times when nothing seems to be moving, when the heavens feel quiet and provision seems delayed. But partnership is not about constant evidence. It is about constant faith. Just because you do not see immediate results does not mean your partner is inactive. Divine timing is perfect, and what you perceive as delay is often preparation. The process of waiting strengthens your trust and deepens your awareness of divine faithfulness. When you remain confident in these moments, you prove your loyalty to the partnership, and soon the evidence of provision begins to manifest. Partnership with the divine also demands integrity and gratitude. You cannot expect divine flow while living in dishonesty or ingratitude. Integrity keeps your heart clear and your hands open. Gratitude keeps your spirit aligned with abundance. Every time you thank the source for what you have, you acknowledge the partnership and create room for more. Gratitude is the language of faith, and it maintains an atmosphere where miracles thrive. The beauty of this partnership is that it does not depend on your perfection, but on your willingness. The divine does not require flawless performance, only sincere faith. When you speak words that acknowledge this relationship, when you declare that your provision, wisdom, and strength come from above, you stay connected to the power that multiplies everything you touch. Your confidence grows, your creativity increases, and your steps are guided by divine intelligence. To live in partnership with the divine is to walk with assurance that you are never limited by what you see. It means understanding that every idea, every connection, every blessing is divinely orchestrated. It is the art of living in rhythm with heaven's plan, working diligently with your hands while trusting completely with your heart. When you embrace this partnership fully, your finances cease to be a struggle and become a testimony of what is possible when humanity and divinity work together in perfect harmony. Gratitude is a spiritual force that multiplies whatever it touches. It is not merely a polite response to good things happening. It is a divine attitude that opens the gates of heaven and keeps the flow of blessings constant. A heart that is grateful attracts more to be grateful for, while a heart that complains repels what it desires. The spiritual atmosphere of gratitude is the fertile ground where financial miracles grow. When you begin to thank God not just for what you see, but also for what you believe is coming, you demonstrate faith, and faith always activates provision. Gratitude is faith in expression. It is the visible proof that you trust divine supply even before the manifestation appears. When you say words like, "Thank you, Lord, for my provision," or "I'm grateful for the abundance that's on the way," you are not just speaking positive affirmations. You are engaging a spiritual law that transforms your reality. The moment you express gratitude, your focus shifts from what is missing to what is present. That shift creates emotional and spiritual alignment with abundance. You begin to feel rich even before money arrives, peaceful even before problems are solved, secure even before answers are visible. This is the atmosphere where miracles happen. Because gratitude and lack cannot occupy the same space. When gratitude fills your heart, lack loses its power. Many people struggle financially not because resources are unavailable, but because they have trained their minds to focus on what is wrong rather than what is right. Complaining closes the door to blessing. Every time you complain, you broadcast scarcity to the universe, signaling that you are unready for more. Gratitude, on the other hand, sends out the message that you trust divine timing and that you recognize provision in every form, big or small, even when money is tight. A grateful person can say, "I may not have everything I want, but I thank God for what I have." And that attitude becomes the magnet for increase. Gratitude transforms insufficiency into sufficiency because it multiplies appreciation, and appreciation multiplies manifestation. Gratitude also has a profound effect on the mind and emotions. It replaces anxiety with peace, fear with faith, and hopelessness with confidence. When you choose to thank God daily, even for the smallest things, your mind begins to expect good instead of bad. That expectation attracts favorable outcomes. Gratitude clears away the clutter of negativity, making space for creative ideas and divine inspiration to flow. People who live in gratitude are often more alert to opportunities because their hearts are open. They recognize doors of favor that others overlook. Gratitude sharpens spiritual vision. To live in a continual atmosphere of gratitude, you must make it a habit. Begin and end each day by listing what you are thankful for. Speak it aloud because gratitude, like faith, must be expressed. Silent gratitude is good, but spoken gratitude carries power. When you say thank you, you are releasing spiritual energy that draws more blessings into your orbit.